Okay, so the first Plan B tutorial that I'm doing here is getting the 10 extractors. So this really confused me the first time I started playing this. So what I've got here is a super basic setup, which is effectively the kind of what it kind of tells you to go through with the tutorial. What I've got here is 3 extractors, each basically funding this depot, which has been set to iron. Both of these then create steel bars, which then go on another depot. So these are basically your storage containers. They can only store one type and they don't store much. And then what isn't necessarily obvious from the tutorial phase is that you only get extractors by creating them. So your factories are what create various raw materials, so steel bar, and then the assemblies are what then create various different sort of, well, in this case, calling them industry, but actual recipes. So here we've got the extractors. You can then see on the picture the number of extractors that you've created. So I've got one set creating my depots, and I've got one line creating my extractors. So if I wanted to speed this up a tiny bit, then I can double those up. That'll then get you through the extractor part of this tutorial, which again just took me a while to realize that the factories build the resources that you're trying to lay down. It's not, you don't just get steel bars, because one of the things is that it says, hey, cost 3 steel bars. That's fantastic, but actually it's costing you 3 steel bars in this facility. So just a kind of something that's not necessarily very clear. So again, what I'll do is I'll just create 3 miners like that, grab the iron, grab a factory, stick it on a depot, and then at some point, presumably when this 10 extractors gets completed, it'll then give me the option to start building assembly plants. So again, it's this kind of loop of you've got to build stuff with stuff, and in fact, I think this might even ask me for like machine parts and other stuff like that. So let's just get this 10th extractor down. That's not actually connected to anything. Okay, great. So we got mechanical parts, which take steel bars, factories, and assembly plants. Now I can start to grow my industry. So again, this is kind of where it's a bit of a pain, because now I need steel bars to make mechanical parts, so you have to repurpose some of this industry in order to make more factories, to make more assembly plants. So I'm just going to let this I'm just going to flat out delete that as well. Speed things up. Just I want to make a bunch of steel bars, then get these producing. So if I do something like that, mechanical parts, do the same there. In fact, I will keep this making depots. Okay, so we've got a bunch of stuff there, so now I want to switch this to mechanical parts. And then I can put an assembly factory here, and then I can create factories. And again, if I delete that, change this to do mechanical parts, put down an assembly plant, making assembly plants. So now this will let me rebuild my old industry and start to scale everything up again. So now I can put that back into extractors. Build 3 more. And now let's get the depot building back up and running. So factory, steel, depot, steel, assembly, depot. There you go, and that at least gets you through the initial tutorial phase. And okay, so this down, steel bar. Okay, so now this basic setup will at least be producing all of the 4 buildings that I need. And now we get other stuff like supply centers, which is what I'm going to use this concrete producing factory for. Hope that helped.